Hey, welcome to the channel. It's all about the blues harmonica, so if you haven't already, thumbs up and subscribe. Today I'm going to talk to you about even if you're starting out or you've been playing an awful long time. I haven't seen this on the internet that you should, I think, be doing or work towards it. If you're sitting in with a band or you're going to dictate to a band, it's important that you know the groove or you know the bass line. If you're listening to something, you should learn the aspects of that, because music is primarily all about rhythm, and certainly in blues playing from Chicago and beyond, that sort of harder edge sort of music, not just really sort of traditional from way back when, is you want to be sort of working these lines and grooves to give yourself a basis for something to work from. Let me give you an example. You wanted to sit in with the band, you might just play something and then they'll follow you. Sometimes if you're playing with foreign people, if you're playing in Europe, you might maybe have a communication problem, but of course music is a universal language, isn't it? So just listen. Alright, so standard bog pattern, as we'd say in aviation, a standard traffic pattern, okay, with lots of left turns, okay, very standard sort of thing that you might hear a bass line play. So, you know, you could walk in on a sit-in and just not even communicate with them, bang that out, then they'll pick that up, then you can drop away from it, okay. So that is one of the first things to establish, to be able to do with a tune. The second thing is, well, blues players, we're not singers, are we? We tell stories. There are a few people that sing blues well, a few, but other than that, it sounds a bit wishy-washy, doesn't it? It sounds a bit weak and wimpish if you haven't got somebody with the right blues voice, because blues isn't really about singing, but it's about storytelling and believing what you do. So the next thing is to, if you're not going to use your voice, or you've used it, or you've heard the voice being played, then you emulate that sound of the voice, and you use that as the head of your tune. Alright? If it hasn't got a head to it, if it hasn't got a tune to it. Head being the tune. It's just a shorthand we use in jazz and blues. Okay? So that would be the next thing to do. Alright, so you've got two things going on there. Okay, and then you, as I've shown on my previous video, you sort of move out from a point, pivoting from a point, and I've done quite a few videos on that, how you where you work from. You know, like an artist works a certain way, and you have to learn to work a certain way, because it's about truth. It's not just about showing up and without any conception. You know, it's remember, you don't rise to the level of your expectation, but rather you fall to the level of your training. Alright, so this is where the on the veranda the sword fencing lessons come in, don't they? Okay, you know, whatever you do in life, the more you do, the better you become at it. And so there has to be a little bit of thought process of how to approach it. So you've got the head of the tune, or how the vocalists interpreted it. You can interpret that on your harmonica, and also you will take the groove or the line first before you do something. Okay, so that's another indication of what you're doing before you. Now, yes, everybody plays in like third position and second position, don't we? And fourth position and first position. But it is important, and I try and get my students to work into other keys as soon as possible. So I have techniques for them to get onto these things and to get these other little notes a certain way. You don't have to go out and buy expensive harmonicas or anything like that. If you're coached the right way, you can do it from out of the box harmonicas. It's not a problem. Okay, there's a lot of myths out there and people spending an awful lot of dough that don't need to. Alright, you don't need to be doing that. So the next thing is You're playing a minor blues or you're playing a blues. Sometimes you've got 3 chords. Now I hate this word 1-4-5, alright? I don't like that terminology. People who are starting out or very basic will use this term, the 1-4-5, the 3 chords in the blues. Well, these 3 chords can be mixed and matched in 1,000 different ways. Not 1,000, but there's about 12 or 14 different ways that are normally used in 12 bar, 16 bar and 8 bar blues. There's different ways, and I coach on that as well. But there's ways of doing it. Now, also, it's important to learn these other positions, not because you don't have to, but because invariably a blues might shift up a half step when it gets to the 5 chord. Now, if you're just starting out, this might just slightly confuse you a little bit, so don't focus on this too much. It'll all come apparent if you've been playing a while, and I don't want it to be detrimental to your own playing, okay? So, for example, if you're playing in 3rd position, like a 3rd position blues, you'll go from 3rd into your 2nd position, back into 3rd. Alright, now we normally go to the 5 chord in 3rd position, would be you go to the 4th position. Okay, there you go here. That's 4th position, alright? But certainly in minor blues and some other types of blues, sometimes you jump up a half step for a bar. So you jump into, if you're in that 4th position, you'd move into what we call 11th position, which on a C harp would give you B flat in 11th position. Now, if you're just starting out, bear with this. This is for people who've just kind of been playing a bit. You just continue playing your straightforward blues with your 3 chords, because you can do this anyway when it shifts a half step. You'll notice if you're playing over B.B. King tracks a lot, they'll do this and it'll still fit, alright? But it's to make your blues better, alright? You have to play in other positions. So as I said, in 3rd position, you'd need 11th. If you're playing in 2nd position, right, same sort of thing. You're in your 2nd position, go to 1st position, back to 2nd position, into 3rd position, but here, shift up half a step again. So you would actually shift from in 2nd position, you switch from the 3rd position to now we'd be going into 10th position, which on a C harp will be E flat. So what I did there, shoot up into 10th, back into 3rd, I went back into 2nd there, alright? So you can see that, so even just shifting a half step, and of course a lot of blues, particularly in swing blues, when you get to a certain measure will drop into, if you're playing a 2nd position blues, at a stage will drop into 5th position. 5th's fairly easy for people to get, and I coach on that. But can you see how already, just playing like even in the minor blues, can you see how the other positions will become available? So there's a little trick for people who've been playing a while that gets you into the mode of this. You should start learning to play round in all keys, and at first it is a daunting prospect in your first couple of years. I get that, but if you get with the right person, it's not that bad actually. And you just keep what you're doing in the others, but it is important to work around these. So I've got a C harp here, so just listen to this. So I went C, B flat, A flat, G, C. I'm singing a bit wimpy there, aren't I? I'm just trying, it's for a demonstration. I don't, that's certainly not me that you're hearing there. Okay, see what I'm doing there? And all I did was play an arpeggio on it, 1, 3, 5. Alright? Now you can do it in a different position. And so you could do it in another position, like say third. So and you see how that little drop there, by practicing that you can do it in the keys that you're not as familiar with, and then after a while it will get into harder keys, and until you can play that little arpeggio around all 12. Alright, it's just the, I'm just doing the 1, 3, 5. Down a tone, down a tone, down a tone. Well, yeah, get the idea? So that's all we're doing. Down a tone, down a tone, down a tone. The last one's a half step. Da 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 da. Okay, and that little exercise, if you like, I call it an exercise. I don't like the word practice because that is a bad mindset for the brain. But that exercise is very, very useful. Just doing a straight 1, 3, 5. And for people in your first couple of years, there might be some notes that you can't quite get, but you will get them if you get with the right coach and you got a little bit of enthusiasm and motivation. It shouldn't be a problem after a year or two. So there's the next thing, to remind you that there's a half step connection here to playing other keys, even when you're playing a basic blues. If you want to see how things are done in a blues situation in a sophisticated level and done well, sort of Ain't Nothing But the Blues, Robin Ford, on a live session with a tenor sax guy. I used to know this guy a long time ago, but he's playing on it. Very good, fine pro actually on tenor sax. And if you listen to the way Ain't Got Nothing But the Blues, listen to the way Robin attacks that and his composition on it, and you'll see the sophisticated chords in it. It's not out and out blues. It's a blues done in a very sophisticated way, and it's excellent. But it's showing you what can be used, substitute harmonies and all the rest of it. Not really for us in the blues sense, but gives you an idea of what you're looking towards in some ways to keep your musicianship going forward. All right. So there's a few tips on getting together with the harmonica and just thinking that it's this 1, 4, 5. You know, there's lots and lots of combinations and different approaches to it. All right, and you should incorporate little exercises like this alongside your working over things. You know, when you're at what I call when you're at work, when you're just playing over a track or playing with a band, letting yourself go, and then you're at work. Then that's what I call work. It's enjoyable work, but it nevertheless, that's when the musician is working. Unless they're simply mimicking, which a lot of people do, and a lot of people can't. They can't work out that they're doing that, all right, because they're not playing properly. But yeah, so those are the few tips for today. Okay, you can get me for lessons on Harpo the Healer Wicks, and I've got podcasts. I've got a new podcast I'm working on at the moment, which will be out shortly, hopefully in the next week to 10 days. And that's going to be all about con men. Con men as in men, women or whatever. Because nowadays if you say con men, they'll think you haven't incorporated anybody. I use the word men in a collective way as it should be used. You know, when man went to the moon. Doesn't mean man in that way, it just means when human beings went to the moon, you know. But, people are so strange these days. Okay, so check that out, my podcast. I'll probably put a link in the description below. Keep harping, and as always, I'll catch you on the rebound.